This is Catherine Tajani from World Policy Journal, and today we're sitting down with Jeremy Suyker, a Paris-based photographer who spent months in Iran documenting Persian history and contemporary culture. His portfolio piece, Iran's House of Strength, can be found in the summer 2015 issue of our journal. So, Jeremy, thank you for sitting down with us today. You've spent a couple months in Iran. What were some of the highlights of your trip?
I spent actually 4 months in Iran. I went once in 2013 for 2 months, and then again early 2014 for 2 months in Tehran. My first trip was more travel, so I spent about 2 weeks in Tehran, and then I traveled to the main cities. And then the second trip, I decided to stay most of my time in Tehran and to focus on actually two main projects. The first one was the underground art scene of Tehran, and the other one is the one that you published in your magazine about the zurkanehs.
So what initially attracted you to Iran?
I mean, I've always been attracted by its culture. I've read a few books. I love the music. So that was like a good start, and also this country has such a bad reputation since the last 20 years, 30 years. I wanted to know, why, and who were Iranians, who are they?
So you said Iran tends to have a bad reputation. So after visiting the country, what was your overall impression of its people, and would you go back?
Well, I fell in love with the country and with the people. It's my second home now. I'm not objective about it when I speak about Iran.
So your piece for our journal documented the training grounds called zurkanehs, in which Iranians practice the ancient sport of varzesh-e pahlevani. And so can you give me a little bit of background about the piece itself and the history behind these rituals?
The first time I ever heard about zurkaneh was on internet. I believe I saw a documentary about Iran, and there was like a 20-second shot about zurkaneh, and I wondered what kind of places these were. And so when I arrived in Iran, I tried to get information about these traditional gyms and where to find them, and actually it wasn't easy at all. I met a photographer who had been taking pictures of these places a long time ago, and he basically told me, he was quite pessimistic, and he told me, well, from what I know, they're all closed now. But he gave me a few hints, and basically in Tehran you have the north part of the city, which is like more for the rich people, and then you would have south of the main bazaar. This whole neighborhoods are just for the, I wouldn't say poor people, but it's popular neighborhoods, kind of religious places. And so I went there to check to see if I could find a zurkaneh, and it took me a few days. Eventually, I was with a friend, Iranian friend, and we were walking once in a small neighborhood, and we heard some sound, like drum beat sounds. So we followed that sound, and eventually we came to a door that was half open, and when we pushed that door, there it was, the zurkaneh. We were inside this very old-fashioned style gym, and we simply went in.
You just walked in.
I walked in, exactly, and that's usually how I try to do, when I'm working abroad. I not pretending that you were like a stupid tourist or anything, but just being very
assertive and pretend like you know what you're doing.
A bit naive also, it usually works if you know how to smile. Also, it works. And so first and of course having an Iranian friend with me helped a lot.
Okay.
Because these people don't speak a word of English. They come from relatively poor,
working class, like families.
Not poor people, but working class.
Yeah.
People. Working class people. Let's put it this way. So they're like postmen, butchers, or they have they're shopkeepers. They don't speak a word of English. That's for sure.
So why are these gyms so hard to find? Why are there so little left in Iran right now?
Zurkanehs, they were like these very discreet places where Persian soldiers, warriors, would train during the Muslim conquest of Persia, and so in order to be safe, because they were persecuted, they would meet in these very discreet places, on kind of underground places. So that's the first reason why the zurkanehs are very discreet and tucked away. And then I just think, as in any other culture or countries, young people especially are more interested in soccer or playing games on internet than going to some old gym and practice weights.
So do you think that in Iran right now it's a particularly well-known practice, or is it more something that's dying out right now?
There's about 500 zurkaneh left in Iran. I'm not sure all of them are active, open. Within these 500 gyms, there's maybe 20 only in Tehran. So the rest of them are in Yazd, in Mashhad, in Esfahan, and probably in Shiraz also, which are like the main cities. Mm-hmm. It's not dying out. I think it's stable now. But
is it mostly young people, old people? Who's involved with this?
It's mostly middle-aged men.
Middle-aged.
But what's interesting is that some of them. Well, I focused on one zurkaneh, which is a zurkaneh in Tehran. I didn't visit other zurkanehs. And in this one, there's about 20 to 30 members of this in this zurkaneh, and among them there's 5 fathers who bring their children with them, So not every time, because they meet about 4 times a week, which is quite a lot. Yeah. Actually. They usually have their session after work. So I just know this one father, and we see him with his kid. There's a very nice picture with his kid looking at each other face to face in the portfolio, and this kid is really amazing. He's about 5 or 6 years old, and he comes to every session, and he's very talented actually. Because in the zurkaneh, what happens is you have what they call the godeh. Godeh is like the main arena. It's actually a quite small arena, and only the men are allowed to go down into the arena, not the kids. But this kid is so talented that after each session, at the end of each session, each training, the men invite him to come down, which is like a great honor for him. Wow. And he performs a dance, because he's actually better than men at this kind of dervish dance when you have to turn.
Spinning.
You spin, yes, yeah. Exactly.
So, you're talking about him being very talented at the ritual. Can you describe a little bit what you saw in these houses?
Well, like any ritual, it's very precise, and it follows always the same kind of a path. They enter the zurkaneh. When you enter the zurkaneh, you start by taking your shoes off. You wash your hands. You enter the main training room. There's the training room, and then there's the arena. They're both in the same space. And once you enter, you are greeted by the tea man. They call it tea man. He's the guy who his job is basically to make tea and make sure that everybody has their tea at any time during the training. So you sit down, you have your tea, you say hello to your friends, members of the zurkaneh. You talk about basic stuff like routine. How's your business? How's the business? How's the family and everything? So then the morshed comes in, and the morshed is the master of ceremony. He has his own little booth, and he's standing there with his drum, and he actually is performing music, and he's singing, and he's the one who gives the tempo, the rhythm of the whole choreography. Because then what happens is that the members, the athletes, they start their training, and dance is very essential in the training. It's not just weightlifting.
So you kind of talked about this ritual as almost like a melting pot of society in Iran, with people from different cultures being there, people from different backgrounds, ethnic groups. Can you talk a little bit about how you saw that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what's interesting about these zurkaneh is that they're not selective. I mean, anybody enter and take part in the training. Of course, you have to be a man. Women are not allowed inside. But whether you're Muslim or not. But yeah, so anybody is welcome, and it's actually one of the principles and the values of this sport is that we help each other the best way we can, and we accept everyone. So if one of the members of the community of these athletes is, I don't know, has even a financial problem, let's say, they would try to find a solution for him and raise money if they have to.
Wow.
Or, that's part of their principles. It's not the varzesh-e pahlevani is not just a sport. It's actually what's fascinating about it is that it's very much like a school where fathers bring their kids to teach them essential Iranian values, how to live, how to behave, how to be a better person. So of course you have the whole weightlifting part, the physical part, but then it's all about the philosophy behind it. It's how you educate your kids, and that's what for me was the most interesting actually. Mm-hmm. And furthermore, what's also very, very interesting is the way this sport is like a combination of movements, of music, poetry, prayers. All this together, it really creates something very unique. When you enter a zurkanehs, you're transported into a complete different world, and it's been a great experience.
Well, that's incredibly interesting, and thank you so much again for talking to us today. And you can, as I said before, find Jeremy's piece on our summer 2015 issue. So thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you.